I never thought I'd be the guy writing about how I found out my wife was cheating on me, but here I am. Her name's Lisa, and we'd been married for about 8 years. Honestly, I thought we had a pretty good thing going. Sure, we argued sometimes, but who does? Mostly, I believed we were solid. She was the kind of woman who always acted like she had everything under control, a little bitchy but clever enough to hide it behind a veneer of charm. I guess I was a little blind or maybe just too comfortable. Things started feeling off about 6 months ago. Small stuff. She'd be on her phone more than usual, sometimes sneaking it away from me when I asked to see what she was doing. She'd brush it off, say she was texting her friends or catching up on social media. But I noticed her phone was different, more locked down, more secretive. I'd catch her deleting messages or clearing her browser history. Nothing concrete, just enough to make me uneasy. Then there were the little lies. She'd say she was going to her sister's house or running errands, but sometimes I'd see her car parked at places I didn't recognize. Nothing obvious at first, but it added up. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I loved her. I mean, I still do, and I didn't want to believe the worst. But the real turning point was about a month ago. I was home late from work and decided to check her phone while she was in the shower, just out of curiosity. I figured if she was hiding something, maybe I'd find some proof. I didn't expect much, but what I found hit me like a punch to the gut. Texts, flirty texts with someone named Jake, who turned out to be our son's orthodontist. I couldn't believe it. Our son, Kevin, just got braces and Lisa had been taking him to see this guy, Dr. Carter, for months. Routine checkups, right? Yeah, until I saw what she was really up to. The texts were inappropriate, flirty, suggestive. The kind of messages that made my stomach churn. I read about how she loved spending time with him, how she looked forward to their little private moments, and even joked about how Kevin's braces would give them more excuses to see each other. I couldn't wrap my head around it. This was my wife, who always acted like she was above all that, who was bitchy and bossy but had a way of making you feel like she was in control. Turns out she was controlling something else entirely. It felt like the ground was shifting beneath me. I closed her phone and sat there, stunned. I stayed up all night, the anger bubbling inside me, but also a deep, aching sadness. I'd always thought Lisa was ambitious, a little bitchy sometimes, but loyal. Now I wasn't so sure. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the fact that I'd been blind to her deception for so long. I already knew, on some level, that marriage wasn't perfect. But this was a whole different level. Finding those texts was like finding a secret world she'd kept hidden from me. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure what I'd say. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to tear her apart, but I also knew I needed to hear her explanation. I had to understand what was going on in her head, but deep down I already had a feeling I knew. I just didn't want to accept it yet. I wanted to believe she'd lie her way out, that maybe I'd been mistaken, that maybe it was all some misunderstanding. But I knew better. That night I waited for her to come home from yet another errand that I knew was probably a lie. When Lisa finally walked through the door, she looked tense, like she'd been caught doing something she knew she shouldn't be doing. Eyes flicked nervously when she saw my face, and I could see the flicker of guilt or maybe just the fear of being caught. I didn't waste time. "Lisa," I said, my voice low but steady, "we need to talk." She hesitated, then rolled her eyes. "What now? You're always accusing me of something. Just drop it already." "No," I said. "I found your phone last night, the texts with Dr. Carter, the inappropriate messages. You know what I saw. I never thought you'd do something like this. To me, to Kevin." Her face twisted into a mask of annoyance and defiance. "Seriously, you're going through my phone? That's creepy. Maybe I don't want you meddling in my business." "Cut the crap, Lisa. I saw everything, those texts. The way you talk about him, about spending time with him behind my back. How long has this been going on?" She scoffed. "Oh, please, you're overreacting. It's just some stupid flirtation. Nothing serious. You're always so paranoid. Kevin's just a kid. I was just being nice, that's all." I stared at her, feeling my blood boil. "Nice? You're joking, right? Do you even hear yourself? This isn't some innocent thing. You're lying to me, to Kevin. How long have you been messing around with him?" She looked away, then crossed her arms. "Look, I don't owe you explanations, okay? I didn't cheat on you, it's just some stupid texts. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Maybe I'm just bored, or maybe I like the attention, but that doesn't mean I'm cheating on you. You're overreacting, and honestly, you're acting like a jealous child." The words hit me hard. Jealous child. Yeah, like I was the one who's crazy. But I knew better than to fall for her deflections. She always had a way of turning things around, making herself the victim. I could see her bitchy attitude in full display now, the way she was dismissing everything, acting like I was just some insecure husband overreacting. "Lisa," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt, "I want the truth. How long has this been going on? Are you sleeping with him?" She rolled her eyes again, this time with a little more force. "Oh, give me a break. Do you honestly think I'd do that?" "You're crazy if you believe that. I swear I haven't done anything with him, I just talk to him sometimes, that's all." "Just talk," I repeated bitterly. "That's what you say about everything, so tell me, Lisa, did you kiss him, or maybe more?" She hesitated, then looked down almost sheepishly. "No, I didn't kiss him, I swear. It's not like that. I'm not some slut. I don't know. I'm bored. You're so busy all the time, and I needed some excitement. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It's just some stupid texting, I swear." Her words sounded hollow, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I could see the bitchy edge in her voice, the stubbornness that refused to admit the truth. She lied so easily, like flipping a switch. That's what made it worse. I knew she'd lie her way out of this if she could. I felt my chest tighten. I'd always thought we had a good marriage, at least I thought so. But now, everything I believed in felt like it was crumbling. How could I trust her again after this? The woman I married, the one I thought I knew, was now nothing more than a stranger hiding secrets behind her bitchy smile. I didn't want to break down right then, but I could feel tears pricking at my eyes. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. That night I lay awake, replaying everything I'd seen and heard. I didn't want to believe I was losing her, but I knew in my gut that this was just the start. The worst part. Knowing that the woman I'd trusted with my life had been sneaking around, betraying me and our son, all in the name of some stupid flirtation. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get so bad, how I'd missed all the signs. I never imagined she'd do this kind of thing, especially with someone who was supposed to be just a dentist, an orthodontist no less. And the fact that she lied so easily, so convincingly, it was like she was a pro at hiding her true self. I kept telling myself I had to stay calm, but inside I was boiling. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break, but I felt like I was losing my mind. And deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of something much darker. The days that followed were a blur of confusion, anger, and heartbreak. Every time I looked at Lisa, I saw the woman I thought I knew, but there was this new undercurrent of suspicion that wouldn't go away. She was still acting bitchy, shrugging off my questions, throwing attitude when I pressed her about the texts. Her excuses kept shifting, one moment claiming she was just bored, the next saying I was overthinking. She kept lying, I could see it in her eyes, and that made everything worse. I couldn't concentrate at work. My mind kept circling back to those texts, to the thought of her sneaking around with Dr. Carter. I started snooping more, going through her emails, her social media. I needed to find some proof, something concrete that would make her own lies crumble. I didn't want to live in doubt, but every discovery just made me more certain. There were more messages, more hints that she'd been unfaithful beyond just the texts. I found pictures of her and him, apparently taken during some casual lunch or after-hours appointment. Nothing explicit, but enough to make my stomach turn again. I decided I had to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I couldn't just accuse her blindly. I needed to get her to admit something outright. I began to think about my next moves, how to catch her in the act if she was sneaking around. This was a game now, and I was determined not to lose. One evening, I set up a little trap. I told her I was going out with some friends and left my phone on the kitchen counter. I kept my ear to the door, listening. Sure enough, I heard her in the other room whispering on the phone. I snuck closer, trying to overhear. It was faint, but I caught enough. She was talking to someone, Jake again, from the texts. They were planning to meet that night at a hotel near downtown. The realization hit me like a freight train. She was planning to cheat on me again with the same guy who'd been texting her all along. I felt rage bubble up, but I also felt hollow, like I'd been punched so hard I couldn't breathe. I knew I had to do something. Seeing her plan to cheat again after all the lies and bullshit was the last straw. I couldn't sit back and let her destroy this marriage, not without fighting back. That night, I stayed awake, contemplating how to handle this. I wasn't going to let her get away with it again. I decided I'd follow her to that hotel if I had to, catch her in the act, or at least get proof enough to confront her with everything. I wasn't just going to be some cuckolded husband sitting around while she played her games. No, I was going to show her I was serious, that I was done being played. The next morning, I called in sick. I told my boss I wasn't feeling well, but really I was preparing for war. I called a friend I could trust, told him what was happening, and asked for some backup in case I needed it. I felt a mix of adrenaline and fear that I'd lose everything, and adrenaline that I was finally taking control. I wasn't going to let her keep lying and cheating behind my back. That woman, Lisa, she thought she was clever, that her bitchy attitude and her lies could keep me distracted. But I was done being fooled. I was going to find out the truth, no matter what it cost me. That evening, I parked a few blocks away from the hotel where I believed Lisa was headed. I kept my phone ready, camera app open, just in case I could catch something. My heart was pounding, part fear, part rage. I kept telling myself I wasn't going to lose this fight, not without showing her I was serious. I watched her leave the house, her typical bitchy attitude in full force, like she thought she was untouchable. She was probably thinking she could get away with it again, but I wasn't going to let that happen. She got into her car and drove off, and I followed at a distance, keeping hidden behind parked cars and side streets. It was quiet, almost surreal, like I was watching a bad movie about betrayal. She didn't go to a restaurant or some friend's house. No, she headed straight toward downtown. When she made a turn into that hotel parking lot, I knew I had her. I stayed in my car, watching her walk inside. It was almost dark, but I could see her through the window, pacing nervously. I kept my phone ready, waiting for her to step out again. I stayed there for about an hour, feeling my fists tight and trying to hold back the anger that threatened to explode. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. I looked at her screen and I saw the message. All set. See you soon. That's when I knew everything. She was planning to meet him, probably for sex, and I had enough evidence to prove it. I snapped a few pictures, knowing I'd need them later. I waited until she left the hotel, then I moved closer, hoping to catch her. On her way back to her car, she looked around nervously, probably realizing she'd been caught in her lie. When she finally got into her car and started driving home, I kept my distance, my mind racing. That night, I sat in my own car a few blocks away from my house. I couldn't go home yet. I needed some time to process, to figure out what I was going to do next. The betrayal was deeper than I'd ever imagined, and the anger was almost uncontrollable. I kept thinking about all those years, how I'd worked hard to build a life with her, only to find out she'd been sneaking around with her orthodontist, a guy who obviously played her like a fiddle. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time it would be different. I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this one. I was going to make her face the consequences. The thought of her betraying me, lying to my face, and planning to cheat on me again made my stomach turn. I felt humiliated, furious, and heartbroken all at once. This wasn't just about a mistress or some texts, that was just the surface. Beneath it was a lifetime of trust shattered, a marriage on the brink of ruin. I sat there in the dark, wondering how I got to this point, how I let her manipulate me for so long. I knew one thing: I was done playing nice. She was going to have to answer for what she'd done, one way or another. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I knew deep down I couldn't just sit around and pretend like everything was okay. I had undeniable proof now: photos, texts, the fact she'd gone behind my back to meet him, so I decided it was time for a serious confrontation. But I also wanted to do it on my terms. I didn't want her to spin her lies or manipulate her way out this time. I needed her to face the truth head-on, and I was prepared for whatever she threw at me. I waited until she came home from work, trying to keep my cool. She strutted in, bitchy as ever, acting like she owned the place. I blocked her path. "We need to talk," I said, my voice low but firm. Her eyes narrowed and I could see her trying to gauge how serious I was. I already knew she was probably planning some kind of lie, some excuse, but I wasn't having it. I pulled out the photos from my phone, the recordings of her planning to meet Jake, her sneaky texts, the hotel pictures. I spread them out on the table. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. "What the hell is this?" She spat, trying to brush past me, but I held her back. "This," I said, voice trembling with a mix of rage and heartbreak, "is who you really are. You've been cheating, lying, sneaking around with your orthodontist. How long has this been going on?" She crossed her arms, trying to look defiant. "Oh, come on, that's just some stupid flirtation. You're overreacting. I never cheated on you, I swear. I was just talking to him. I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of it." "No," I shot back. "I saw everything. The hotel, the texts, the planning. You're planning to cheat again tonight, aren't you? Or did you already do it?" She scoffed, but I could see the cracks in her facade. "You're crazy. I'm not cheating. I was bored, okay? I needed some excitement, that's all. I didn't mean for it to get this out of hand." "Bored, excitement," I repeated, voice rising. "That's your excuse. You're supposed to be married, Lisa, to me, to Kevin. And you're out there scheming behind my back with your little boy toy, planning to fuck him behind my back. How long has this been going on? How many times?" She hesitated, then looked away, her bitchy attitude slipping just a little. "It's not what you think. It's not like we slept together or anything, just some flirting. It's not that serious." "Not that serious," I echoed bitterly. "You're lying. I know you are. I saw the hotel pictures. I saw the texts where you said you loved spending time with him. Don't lie to me, Lisa. I want the truth." Her eyes flashed with defiance, but also a flicker of guilt. "Fine. Maybe I did see him a few times. But it's not like I wanted to hurt you. I was just bored, you're never home, and I needed some attention. But I swear, I haven't slept with him, not yet." That last part hit me like a punch, not yet, as if she was planning to, or maybe just waiting for the right moment. I felt my stomach turn again. The woman I married, the woman I still loved, was planning to betray me even further. The rage surged through me, but I kept my voice under control. "This isn't just about some texts or some flirtation," I said quietly. "This is about respect, about trust, and right now I don't feel like I have either. You've been lying to me from the start. I don't know how we move forward after this." Her breath hitched and she looked like she was about to say more, but I cut her off. "No more lies, Lisa. If you're going to be with him, just say it. I want you to be honest, because I'm done being a fool. I deserve better than this. Better than a wife who cheats on me with her orthodontist, who lies and manipulates and plays with my family's life like it's a game." She looked stunned, her bitchy mask finally cracking open, revealing the woman who had been hiding behind her lies. And I knew from that moment on I had to decide what I was going to do. Because if she was planning to keep this up, if she was planning to cheat and lie her way out of it, I couldn't stay. I couldn't be married to someone who didn't respect me or our marriage anymore. I was at a crossroads, whether to fight for what was left or to walk away and start over. Either way, I knew I wouldn't stay silent much longer. The confrontation in my living room was the culmination of everything I'd been feeling: anger, betrayal, heartbreak, and a sense of betrayal so profound it felt like my soul was being ripped apart. Lisa stood there, trying to deny everything, but the evidence was undeniable. I'd seen her planning the night she was supposed to meet Jake, the hotel photos, the texts where she said she loved spending time with him. She couldn't spin her way out of that. She finally broke down, tears streaming down her face, her bitchy demeanor dissolving into something raw and vulnerable. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," she whispered, voice trembling. "I was just so bored. I didn't want to hurt you, I swear. It was stupid and I regret it, okay? But I never slept with him, not yet. I was just testing boundaries, I guess. I thought I could stop, I don't know." Hearing her say that, how she was testing boundaries, made me feel sick. Because it was the same old lie, another variation of her trying to smooth things over to make it seem like it wasn't a big deal. But to me, it was everything. It was the end of trust, the destruction of what I thought we built. I looked at her, feeling a cold numbness settle over me. I knew I had to make a choice. No matter how much I loved her, how much I wanted to believe she'd change, I had to protect myself and Kevin from further damage. I couldn't live in a marriage where the woman I married was sneaking around with my son's orthodontist, lying to my face and planning to cheat on me again. I can't do this anymore, I said, voice heavy with finality. You've betrayed me so many times, Lisa. I don't think I can ever trust you again. I want you out of the house, and I want you to think about what you've done. She fell to her knees, begging, crying, pleading. Please, she sobbed, don't do this. I can change. I love you. I love Kevin. I don't want to lose my family. But her words were hollow. I'd heard enough. I knew her well enough to see that her tears and pleas weren't about remorse. They were about saving her own ass, about avoiding consequences. I had already made up my mind I was done. I knew I deserved better than a wife who lied, cheated, and manipulated her way through our marriage. I called a lawyer shortly after she left, started the process of separating. It was one of the hardest decisions I'd ever made, but deep down, I knew it was necessary. I didn't want Kevin to grow up in a home filled with lies and betrayal. I didn't want to be married to someone who thought she could get away with cheating on me with her orthodontist. In the end, I learned a lot from this experience. I learned that trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to repair, that some people are better at lying than others, and that betrayal can come from the most unexpected places, even from someone you loved and trusted your whole life. I also learned that sometimes the only way to find peace is to cut your losses and walk away. I don't regret standing up for myself, even if it hurt like hell, because I now see that real strength lies in knowing when to walk away and protect what's yours. Kevin and I are healing, slowly but surely. And for anyone else out there in a similar situation, my advice is simple. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let someone's bitchy attitude or their lies destroy your life. Stand up, confront the truth, and do what you need to do for yourself and your family. Because in the end, nothing is more important than your own peace of mind.